start my trucks here. How thin down is this batch, do you know? A little bit, not a whole lot. I don't, when I'm doing my first coat, I don't like it. Actually, I can't remember, one of them I might have. Okay. You need a drill, but
I've got my
stuff. A little over a week and a half ago, I got a text from my older brother. The text said, "Just for your information, I quit my job today. I've decided to go back into contracting, doing drywall and paint work." I read this text to Cedar as we were both surprised. While my brother Matt had been a drywall contractor for many years, for the last 10 years he worked in an office. Shortly after the shock wore off, Cedar looked at me and said, "Get your brother up here to help finish the drywall downstairs." I almost immediately shot him a text and asked him if he had any interest in coming and staying with us for a week to 10 days and completely finishing the drywall in the front room downstairs so we can get it painted and get the kitchen finished. He told me he needed to talk to his wife. A short time later, he sent me a text and said, "When do you want me to come up?" After driving 800 miles, he went to work. Now, I like to think that I can do a little bit of drywall, but there's a major separation between me and somebody that does it professionally. The difference between myself and my brother Matt is, number one, he's got way more experience in this trade, but number two, he has the skills and the patience to do the job right on a much faster time frame. What would likely take me 3 to 4 weeks will probably take him 5 to 7 days. Having him here doing the drywall allows me the time to do some other things that I've been putting off. Cedar's been asking me for quite some time if there's not a better place to set the chicken coop where the chickens might not be so prone to predators. I've had too much caffeine, I can't sit still. We basically lost all of our chickens to a mink. So by moving the chicken coop down closer to the house, in a more central location on our property, and the hope is that if in fact a predator gets in there, that it's close enough to the house that we'll hear it and be able to react to it. The issue is that I don't want to break down the chicken coop into pieces like I did last time because it'll take so long. If there's a way I can put it on a couple of skids and use the tractor to get it down the hill safely, this is what I'm going to do. The problem is this hillside this time of year is partially frozen. It never gets enough direct sunlight to completely dry out, so it has the potential to be dangerous and slippery. So I'm trying to move the chicken coop down here on the other side of the shop. This is where Cedar feels like it'll maybe be a little bit safer from predators and a little bit easier for her to get the eggs from the chickens. And in the process of doing that last night, the chicken coop slid up against one of my yard hydrants. And so it's kind of pinned right there right now. And it was getting late, and that hillside does not get a whole lot of direct sun. So it's always a little bit slippery up there, a little bit even icy. And as it was cooling off last night, I decided to leave the tractor where it's at, leave the chicken coop where it's at. I'm just basically sliding it across the ground. And now I'm in a pickle. Now the only thing I can think of doing to solve the problem is go put my truck up on the hill above it and use my winch to kind of pull that thing away from that yard hydrant. The last thing I want to do is either break a water line underneath or bend that yard hydrant over. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to pull that away from that yard hydrant just a little bit more, so I can drag the chicken coop down the hill and get it positioned where we want it. And then the objective today is to really be working on fencing around the front here so we can get the animals put in place where we want to. My brother's inside working on drywall, and Cedar's about to take off and go down south, so I'm kind of on my own on this one, so hopefully it doesn't go too bad. So after using the turning brakes on the Massey Ferguson tractor and doing my best to get the chicken coop past the yard hydrant, the tractor began to slide down the hill, and it was making me nervous. So I wondered if maybe I could use my truck in the same fashion to safely get it down the hill. It seems like the weather is holding out. By midday, you've set your coat down and you're almost sweating, but by late afternoon, you're wondering where you set your coat. It's getting down below freezing overnight, but the daytime highs couldn't be better. After getting the plow truck figured out, I put the white F-250 back together, threw it on the local internet, and we'll see if I'm able to sell it before winter sets in. But having my brother working on the drywall is freeing me up to do some of these things that I've been putting off for quite some time. Once we get the chicken coop set in place, Our plan is to fence off the front yard in such a way where we can have not only chickens wandering around, but other animals as well. For whatever reason, I still have a desire to get at least 3 or 4 goats so we can use them to keep the weeds down and to hopefully get the grass growing throughout the property. The problem with goats is goats get out of just about everything. We'll start by putting some field fencing around the lower section. Then I'll have to protect all the trees because I've seen what goats do to trees, and I do not want this to happen to any of the trees that are left on our property. Our plan is to fence the lower 5 acres of our property off into maybe 3 or 4 sections. We know we have bobcats, we know we have mountain lions. So while we're getting used to this, we need to have the goats close by while we figure this out. Old Bandit follows me around and wants to play more than any other dog we've ever had. He has most certainly become one of the family. As a matter of fact, we like him so much, we've decided not to get him fixed, but to try to find him a girlfriend at some point down the road and see if we can't have some baby bandits running around at some point in the near future. He has more personality than any other dog I've ever seen. He loves to play more than anything else. He loves Reed and Callie and can't wait till they get home from school. If I'm not careful while I'm walking around the property, he usually runs up behind me and tries to nip at the tips of my fingers just to get a reaction out of me. But he has one of the softest mouths of any dog we've ever had. We love him and can't wait to see how he develops. Cedar has mixed feelings about having the animals right here in the front yard because she loves the grass and she recognizes how much Reed and Callie play in the grass. If the goats start to do too much damage around here, we may have to move them up a little bit higher. But for now, we're going to get the fencing in place and get prepared to deal with these animals. And we've got our eyes on a very particular type of goat that we hope to get in the next few days.